right, it is Thursday afternoon, 12:30. It's another week of football forecast with a cast of characters named Rick and Wayne and yours truly, Jay Dillon. Good afternoon, fellas.
Good afternoon, Jay.
Hi, Jay.
Week number 18. Here's what we've got. We'll set the table with Chargers and Herbert playoff failures. What is going on? Why can't Justin Herbert win a playoff game? We'll talk Ben Johnson fourth down decisions and some coaching changes that has happened this past week. So, Wayne, we'll start with you. Justin Herbert, by all counts, a good quarterback. But the guy he's 0 for 3 in the playoffs overall, 0-2 with Mr. Harbaugh. Harbaugh was brought in to, take him over the top. But what's going on? Is it the coaching staff? Is it Herbert?
I was thinking about this when I saw your question, and of the good teams that you see frequently on television, I don't think I know less about any other team than I do about the Chargers. And so I'm going to just go by the way it looks to me. Now, first of all, as far as this year is concerned, when they lost Alt and Slater, their two starting tackles, that really put a dent in their offensive line, and their rookie running back Hampton was hampered as well. So I think they went into the playoffs this year a little beat up in the areas that they couldn't afford to be beat up. But the other thing that sticks out to me is in watching the Chargers play. Herbert can put up some great numbers, but he doesn't come across to me like a real team leader. You look at the way the team responds to Josh Allen and Mahomes, and the way those teams respond to their star quarterback. I don't see that in the Chargers. Plus, they don't have the greatest set of receivers either. So, some of the blame certainly goes on Justin Herbert, but he doesn't have a full deck to play with either as far as the talent around him. And they'll keep building on that. He'll get his starting tackles back next year, and I think that'll make a big difference. I don't know. As far as Harbaugh is concerned, he's proven himself to be a winner no matter where he's at. He's won a lot of postseason games. So we'll see how they get things turned around. But I just don't know that Justin Herbert is a real get on my back, I'll carry you to a playoff win kind of a quarterback.
Rick, in 22 versus the Jaguars, the Chargers blew a 27-0 lead, one of the largest collapses in playoff history. 2 years later against the Texans, Herbert had the worst game of his career, 4 interceptions. And just last week, the offense failed to score a touchdown, gaining just a little over 150 yards.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about that Jaguars comeback. But, to me, I disagree with Wayne. I think Herbert is a leader. You can just see the way the team picks him up after. These 2 playoff losses, he gets crushed every time he touches the ball. The guy plays with broken hands, broken ribs, sprained ankles, separated AC joints, things like that, and he just keeps coming back for more. I think their problem that they've had in his tenure there is the offensive line. The good offensive line play that they've had has been when they're all healthy, and every year they seem to have these injuries that take out their best offensive line talent, and they don't have offensive line depth. It's difficult to do that with the types of contracts that they've given out to other positions. They've given out massive contracts to Bosa and Khalil Mack and Derwin James and wide receiver Mike Williams, who's now no longer with the team either. They've only drafted, when Harbaugh took over, I thought he's a guy that builds between the trenches, right? Offense and defensive line. He's only drafted 1 offensive lineman this last year with 9 picks. And the year before that, they only drafted Joe Alt with their 9 picks. So if you don't build depth in that offensive line, even with late round picks, you're not going to keep a quarter. It doesn't matter who you have playing your skill positions. You can't keep your quarterback upright and move defenders out of the way. You're not going to be scoring points.
Yeah, that's completely 100% true. Just look at Chicago's turnaround from what they had, no offensive line last season, to now what they've accomplished. And speaking of which, Chicago, Rick, What is going on with Ben Johnson? Cringeworthy. Listen, I think he was 0 for 1 for 5 or 1 for 4 going for it in fourth down last week. It was a head scratcher when he went for it on his own 30-yard line. That's the one that gets me. Like, what are you doing early in the game? What's your feelings on that?
He was going to die on that cross, right? And I think his intent in doing that is he wants to show Caleb and that offense that he believes that they can execute and succeed. On the flip side of the thought process too, your defense is not good. Your defense is not going to stop the other team from scoring touchdowns. So if you can do whatever you can to keep your defense off the field, it's probably a good thing. Now, it didn't work out well in his favor. He gave the other team only 30 yards in order to score. That defense is predicated on takeaways. What do you need with takeaways? You need that offense to get basically try and kill you with 1,000 cuts, and hopefully they get tired and they make a mistake. If you're only starting with the ball at the 30-yard line, that's not giving that defense the opportunity. But I understand the thought process behind it is that he understood we weren't going to stop them anyway. I need to keep them off the field.
Yeah, I mean, that's one way of looking at it, Wayne, that we can't stop their offense, so we need to keep our offense on the field. But in playoff games, momentum is crucial, right? Johnson's early choices gave the Packers a cushion that nearly buried the Chicago Bears. I mean, they were down 21-3, let's be honest. I don't know what it looked like in your household, Rick, but in mine, I was watching it with one eye open sometimes, at least going into the third quarter. I thought, I don't know. Wayne?
Go ahead, Rick.
I was watching on my phone, so I really couldn't see the bad things going on. I had to squint like that anyway, so.
I think had Green Bay hung on and won that game, there would have been a lot more criticism of Ben Johnson, especially that one from his own 32-yard line. Green Bay goes down and scores, and it's 21-3, or they score a touchdown. I don't remember if that made 14 or 21. But Ben Johnson learned under head coach Dan Campbell to do that. Now let's go back 2 years ago in Detroit, and when Detroit was in San Francisco. They went for twice on fourth down in the second half. Once from the San Francisco 28, they could have gone up with a field goal. They could have gone up 27-10. Then they went for it again on fourth down, where they could have tied the game at 27 on a 4th and 3 play from, I think it was the San Francisco 30. And sometimes over aggression can get you into a lot of trouble. And for you guys' sake, honestly, I hope that you guys have 3 more wins in you to win the Super Bowl. But I honestly believe one of those decisions is going to come back and bite, because confidence is one thing, but going for it on your own 32-yard line, Rick, you had said by 1,000 cuts. You're not going to get 1,000 cuts from the 30-yard line. If you punt it away and get them back on their own 20-yard line, you've got a lot more chances to cut 1,000 times. So, and the defense couldn't stop them. The defense did. Now, whether that was Green Bay going into a shell, which I think they did in the second half, they could not pick up the blitzes and do anything about it. The first half, they looked unstoppable. The second half, they looked like they'd never practiced offense in the entire season. So the defense was able to pick it up. They changed some things. Green Bay didn't adjust. So I hope that those kind of decisions don't come back to bite. But it seems like Ben Johnson has earned it. There's an arrogance there that I hope it doesn't come back and bite.
Yeah, I can see a little bit of that arrogance. We all seen what happened in the locker room after the game, which gamesmanship, it is what it is, right? Does it bother me as a fan? Not really, kind of a little bit though, Rick. What does it say to you? That's bulletin board material from next year when they get their full complimentary of players back. I don't want that on their bulletin board.
I think it's good old-fashioned division rivalry, right? Like, Is it any different than the stuff that Micah Parsons was saying and the Green Bay Packers were saying during the regular season during those matchups? No. Is it any different than Rodgers spouting off to the Chicago Bears crowd. I still own you. I still
Mm-hmm.
own you. I mean, when the shoe's on the other foot, that's bad gamesmanship. And when it's on in their side in their favor and they're winning the games, that's just good old fashioned rivalry, right? So
Sure. Yeah, we get that.
I
Mm-hmm.
I I did not have an issue with it. He's trying to fire his team up and keep them fired up for next season, and it might be. I mean, he made comments on his hiring press conference. He just doesn't like the Packers, and neither
Mm-hmm.
do I. I don't know if with our record over the last 20 years, if I'd be spouting anything like that. But it was good for them, and
Is
I
it?
think that they earn the right to talk right now.
It was easy for Aaron Rodgers to talk like that when he knew the talent level was night and day. But now things have leveled out, and Chicago, especially with the way Green Bay losing two of their top players, has fallen behind the Bears. But you know what? If Green Bay, deal with it. You know what? Deal with it. You lost twice in a
Yep.
row. He's got the upper hand, so ball's in your court. Fix it.
And speaking of Green Bay, this threw something out here this week. Wayne, should the Packers consider a coaching change after what happened? 21-3. A lot of fans, but of course we don't care what fans think. I'm surprised, and I wrote that in our little talking points notes, that they haven't come out and said, hey, LaFleur is our guy. We're going to sign him. They haven't said anything yet.
Well, they talked early this week that the new president and LaFleur were going to meet, and they were trying to hammer something out. Well, that was Monday. Today's Thursday, and I've just been, I was just online a while ago looking. They have not hammered anything out. I just
Mm-hmm.
have a sneaky suspicion that Green Bay may have waited to see what was going to happen with Harbaugh out of Baltimore to make a decision. Now, if I'm LaFleur, I'm like, okay, if we can't figure something out, I'll go into my last year of my contract, and then I'm a free agent. He's going to make oodles of money next year if he's on the open market. He is a very good football coach. Now, you couldn't tell by the second half last week. He looked lost. I mean, the shots they had of him on the sideline, it was like, what do you do? And he's always been criticized for his time management. But he's still a good coach. I look at Green Bay. Who else are you going to get right now, unless some assistant that you think is going to be a power coach down the road? But I think he's in Green Bay. I think they're going to get him signed to a long-term contract. But when if they get their team back healthy next year, as most teams are beat up right now, Green Bay is still one of the top 5 teams in the NFL.
Yeah, I agree. Rick, we were going to talk about your topic. He has decided to retire. More than likely, take a year off because I don't think he wants to coach at all. Maybe step into the booth. We're talking Mike Tomlin here. So I'll give you an alternate. Best job opening right now. What are your thoughts? You like Baltimore? I think I just read that Harbaugh's signing with New York. Is that right, Wayne?
Yep.
I think he's signing.
Yep. Yeah.
So
That's what they were
Baltimore,
reporting this
Pittsburgh,
morning.
Cleveland's open. You've got the Raiders. Rick, what do you see open there out there that's open that you like?
Well, obviously, as far as pedigree goes, the Steelers and the Ravens probably are on the tops of any coach's hopes. But I think the Ravens get the edge simply because they have an established quarterback superstar. And we don't know what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers, 43 years old. Didn't have the best of season anyway, and I think some of his age and what comes with that definitely showed up in this game against an elite pass rush and an elite defense. He could not step up and get away from that pass rush like he used to be able to in his prime. So even if he did come back to them, I just this is considered to be a weak quarterback draft class. There's not going to be a lot out there on the free agent market. There usually never is with superstar quarterbacks. I think the prime job has to be the Ravens, who've got superstars on both sides of the ball.
Wayne, I've got those two at the top of my list as well. For one, the Steelers, I mean, they just stick with their coaches. I mean, how do we know? Because the 19 years or 18 years, I guess Tomlin was there. And in the Ravens, they have a quarterback, an established MVP, multi-year quarterback.
Yeah, I heard something today that Mike Tomlin was hired as the Pittsburgh coach about 5 weeks before the iPhone came out. So he was there for a little while. I think Pittsburgh's one of the worst places because they don't have a quarterback. They're drafting in the middle year after year after year. Their defense is very old, and I heard the most expensive in the NFL. They're going to need to do some house cleaning, and it all starts with a quarterback. Now, the one thing they have
Hmm.
going for them is since 1969, when Chuck Noll was hired there as their head coach, they've had three coaches total, including Tomlin. Tomlin, Bill Cowher, and Chuck Noll. So you get hired there, you don't have to worry about getting fired after week 4
Job
if you're 0 and
security.
4. So, yeah, exactly right. Oakland, the Raiders too, I think are in a world of hurt. Although they get the number one pick and they may be able to do some trading and some horse trading and see whether they can improve the overall talent. They don't need just a quarterback; they need a lot more than that.
There's one position that we have forgotten, and as older gentlemen, which we are, South Beach, Miami. Come on, that's got to be very attractive, isn't it?
No income tax. So yeah, I mean, whatever you get paid, you're getting an extra boost there, but it just doesn't ever seem like the talent level sticks around there for a very long period of time. And right now, you're going to have Tyreek coming back. He's been a locker room kind of issue.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what you're going to do at the quarterback position with Tua. He's showing periods of where he's been really, really good, and he's been showing periods where he's been absolutely terrible. So I don't know if there's enough there to really draw those top coaching candidates away from someplace, like I said, like Baltimore.
All right. Well, we'll see how it plays out in the next few weeks. The coaching merry-go-round as it goes. Let's get to our pick six, our first game. This is a game that we'll see Monday night. Indiana versus Miami. Wayne, Indiana, they're a scary good football team. They boat raced Alabama. They clipped the wings of the Ducks. What say you against the Canes?
They are solid in every aspect of the football team, and they got so many guys that came with Signetti from James Madison. They got some people on the portal last year. The center from Notre Dame that they had that they got this year has just been a complete star. But I tell you what, to me, as an 8.5 point favorite, Indiana seems like the obvious choice when you're just going straight up.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why, but I keep going back to 2007. Tom Brady, Randy Moss, they're 16-0. They're breezing through. No one touched them. They were 12-point favorites in the Super Bowl. They end up scoring 7 points in that game against the Giants, and they lose 14-7. I just have this feeling that kind of a situation could unfold because Miami's defense is very, very good. But in
Mm-hmm.
watching Indiana play in their playoff games, they just look almost unstoppable on both sides of the ball. I got to go with the Hoosiers, but I would not be shocked to see Miami win. But I'm going with the Indiana, and I
Rick,
just made up
Miami
that
has.
my mind on. I just made up my mind on that right now. I was trying to talk myself
Did
into
you?
one direction or the other. I couldn't decide whether to go with
Okay.
the upset.
I've got one for you. The same thing coming up in our next game, Wayne. So I'm with you. Rick, Miami has upset their way through the playoffs. They beat Texas A&M, Ohio State, Ole Miss, all top 7 CFP teams. They shouldn't be here. By all accounts, they should not be in this game, but they are here. They've got a hell of a defense, and they're playing essentially at home.
Yeah, I mean, shutting down A&M and Ohio State is no easy feat. Both those teams average 34 points a game during the regular season, but how can you not root for Indiana, right? I want to see them complete their story from, college football nobodies 2 years ago to just utter domination this season. In one of the best conferences in football. It's not like they
Mm-hmm.
went 15-0 in the Mid America or Mid Atlantic Conference or something like that, right? They did it in the Big Ten. So I mean, their two playoff games this year, were they weren't against nobodies or first timers. They were against college football royalty in Alabama and a really good Oregon team. Oregon's been good for a long time, and they can beat them by a combined 69 points. So, I mean, they've outscored their opponents this year by 473 points. It tied the record for
That's
the most.
crazy.
It
So
is
not many
and it's
one-score games,
Indiana.
right?
It's Indiana.
Yeah.
So I mean, they've just been dominating teams from the opening drive, and I'm not sure if that other dominance continues in this championship game, but I just can't imagine Miami has enough left in their Cinderella season to stop this freight train that Indiana has going. So I'm going with the Hoosiers.
Going with the Hoosiers, yeah. I like everything about the Hoosier story. Last year, I was high on them as they went into the playoffs, and of course, as we know, Notre Dame ended up beating them. But I love everything about this, and I'm taking the Hoosiers. I think it's going to be a lot closer. What did they say? It's 8.5 point?
Yeah.
Yep.
8.5. All right. I say it's going to be 6. 2 field goals because I think Miami's defense will stick around. I don't see them getting out and beating them by 15 or 20 points. But again, that's why they play the game, and we will find out. Next up, Rick, Buffalo Bills. This is your team versus the Denver Broncos. It took all of Josh Allen's skill last weekend to get past the Jaguars, and now he's heading across the country to the Rocky Mountains, where the Broncos are 8-1 at home. One of the strongest home field advantages in football. You've got the altitude and you've got the crowd.
Yeah, that win last week did cost Buffalo. They're down to only 3 healthy wide receivers right now. They have 4 wide receivers on IR. They're playing their third string strong safety and their backup full safety. They're going to try and continue to lean into the run to keep their ailing defense, who also, I mean, you look at that injury report and it just goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
So their passing game is lacking explosiveness, and their defense is just, like I said, they've been winning games because of Josh Allen. But I don't know if they're going to be able to rely really on their running game like they have so far this season, because Denver D is second in the league. They only give up 3.9 yards per carry. I know Josh Allen is hard to bring down, but the Broncos lead the league in sacks by a wide margin. They were only 4 away from setting the all-time season sack record. They're getting Dre Greenlaw back, who is their play caller and heart of that Broncos defense. And the team is relatively healthy coming off the bye week. I'm going with Denver.
Going with Denver. Okay, Wayne, this is a bad matchup for Buffalo's offensive line, especially with Buffalo receivers. As Rick mentioned, they're depleted. If Allen has to play hero ball under pressure, look for turnovers, look for stalled drives. Those are very, very highly likely. I like the Broncos at home, Wayne.
I think Cooks is going to be the big word in this game. The running back and Brandon Cooks, who's come out of nowhere to be the leading receiver for Miami. Now, this all depends on how healthy. Josh Allen's going to play, but how effectively can he play? Sean Payton's defense, like Rick said, leads the league in sacks by a wide margin. Denver's got 2 pretty darn good shutdown corners, including maybe one of the best cornerbacks in all of football. But Buffalo doesn't rely on their wide receivers. They rely on Cook. They rely on their tight end, Knox, and Kincaid. There's something about Josh Allen and the way this season has played out that if he can will this team, I think they match up very well with Denver. I'm going to go with the Bills because I just believe in Josh Allen, and I think he'll get it done. I'd be over Bo Nix because I think it's tight. I think Bo Nix, you might see some cracks.
Okay, yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about that's a good, strong possibility. Let's move on. San Francisco, Seattle. Both teams split the regular season series, so here's your rubber match in the playoffs. A trip to the NFC Championship game is on the line. Seattle is rested, however. 49ers, they're a little bit beat up. Seattle already beat them convincingly just a couple weeks ago. Of course, the Niners lost a crucial playmaker in Kittle. Sam Darnold's having a pretty darn good year. He's about 68% in completions, a little over 4,000 yards in passing, 25 TDs, a passer rating right about 100. But if there were any other team than the 49ers they were playing, I'd be a little hesitant about Sam Darnold. But I know that I feel he knows that what he can and cannot do against this San Francisco team. So I'm taking the Seahawks at home, Wayne.
173 yards. That's how many yards at home San Francisco was able to get against Seattle a couple of weeks ago, and that was with George Kittle. Their defense is suffocating. They're 7-point favorites. I think they cover. Seattle wins.
Rick.
Yeah, just I would like to say San Francisco, but just their injuries to their major contributors just keep mounting up. I don't believe the hype from Fred Warner's Instagram account that he's going to be back. That injury was pretty gruesome. It just reminds me of the Lions from last year when the next man up mentality worked for only so long and it only went so far until finally it became insurmountable. I don't even worry about how Darnold's going to perform this game. The Seattle running game rushed for 180 yards in Week 18 against the Niners. And on the flip side of it, the Niners could not get a first down against the Seahawks. They only had 9 all game, and including 1 rushing first down, which when you have a player like McCaffrey and you only have 1 rushing first down in the game, that defense did its job. So I expect more of that same formula. Seahawks are going to win.
Okay, next up we've got the Houston Texans, New England Patriots. Wayne, the Texans, they're on a heater. 10-game win streak. Dominant defense last week against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They scored 2 defensive touchdowns. But on the flip side, C.J. Stroud struggled. I mean, he looked terrible.
Yeah, well, they come in as 3-point favorites. Now, the thing about New England, they've got a record of 14-3, but I went through their schedule. They only played 2 teams with a winning record. That was Buffalo. They played them twice, and they split with them. So their schedule was quite easy, and that's allowed them to play in Foxborough on Sunday or whatever the game is, Saturday or Sunday, against the Texans. But the Texans defense, very much like Seattle, it's like they can shut you down at any time. I don't know that New England has the weapons to deal with Houston's defense. I'm going to go with the 13-5 Texans.
All right. Rick, you following suit, although the Patriots, they're the Texans are likely without Nico Collins.
True. But I think with that defense, they only need 1 big play, and the defense takes care of the rest. I also went through the Patriots' schedule, and they only faced 2 top 5 defenses all year long. Chargers last week in the playoffs, and the Browns. Their offensive line has done well with the additions of Campbell and Wilson from this year's draft, but they have not faced a defense and a pass rush of this caliber. And I think the Houston Texans showed last week that their defense isn't just going to keep them in games, but they can flat out win games for them by capitalizing on big plays. They're second in the league in turnover margin. I'm going with Houston.
Okay. You know what? Without any further ado, I got the Patriots just because I need to change it up. Taking the Patriots this week. I think they've got home field advantage, and they are going to dominate the Drake May obviously playing like an MVP this season, number 1 in passing efficiency, but they're just going to dominate the time of possession. That's all they need to do. Next up, we have got, is this me or who is it, Rick? Is this you, Rick? The Rams and Chicago Bears.
The Rams offense is humming. I mean, they put up 30 points per game like it's nothing. But they haven't had to play in a cold weather game this season so far. I'm not expecting such a high scoring affair. And by doing that, kind of plays in the Chicago's MO, right? Where they just kind of low scoring game, and all of a sudden at the end, they kind of sneak out a last minute W there because the teams allowed them to hang in there. Another good point is Loveland has really emerged as a weapon in the intermediate and short passing game for the Bears. In the last 3 games, he's had 24 catches, 372 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 2-point conversion. The Rams are the second worst in the league. They've given up 17 tight end touchdowns this year, and they've given up over 1,100 yards receiving to tight ends on the year. I'm going to expect another big game from him and the Bears to eke out a close one.
Woo! Love it. Wayne, weapons like Puka Nacua and Davante Adams scare me. They scare me to death. But the weather, it's Sunday night, temperatures expected in the teens with some light snow conditions, going to be windy. Chicago handles that weather a little bit better. They're 7-2 at home, while the Rams are 5-4 on the road. The Rams defense ranks among the worst playoff teams in passing yards allowed. So that means the Iceman, Caleb Williams, is going to get he's going to have a pretty decent game. Also, the Rams are poor in short yardage run defense, giving up 74% conversion. So that gets Monangai and Swift out there and opens up the field for our quarterback, Caleb. And most data points favor the Rams. Better season record, higher scoring offense, favoring odds, statistical models. That's what it says online. But give me the Chicago Bears for a win at home Sunday night.
Loveland has come on, and he has become a real weapon. I know there was a time about halfway through the season, you guys were talking about, at least you were, Jay, talking about, I wish we would have drafted that tight end from Indianapolis instead of Loveland. I'm not so sure. He's really come on, and he made huge plays on Saturday night to beat Green Bay. I love playoff games where the teams have not met during the regular season. There's a lot more intrigue in that. You don't have anything really to base it on. Chicago has lived on the turnover, yet they beat Green Bay without forcing a turnover the other night. So they can win. They can win in a lot of different ways. And Caleb Williams is turning into one of the most dangerous quarterbacks in the entire NFL. The transition from last year to this year is unbelievable. And I've said this to you guys before. As Chicago Bears fans, you guys have nothing but a lot to look forward to starting next year. Because I think that Davante Adams, I think that the tight ends for the Rams, I think they're going to put up a lot of points. The LA defense has not been great, but I think weather can be a real equalizer. Cold is cold. The Rams haven't played in a cold weather game like this since the 1976 NFC Championship game at Metropolitan Stadium in Minneapolis. It's going to be a challenge for them, but I just believe in Matt Stafford, and I think the Rams win.
Okay, there we go. Picks are in. Let's get to our scorecard. Wayne in at 62 points. Rick, you have snuck into second place there at 63, and yours truly there at 68. So, gentlemen, it's going to be one great weekend once again. We've got some great football games for Saturday and Sunday, and then lock it in for Monday, because that national championship game is going to be something, I guarantee it. So, looking forward to next Thursday when we hook up once again, and we'll get a chance to talk about everything else. Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, I'll get the things out because we're off Monday. I'm not sure, Wayne, if you're working Monday. We do have a holiday, so we'll try to get something to you Tuesday or early Wednesday. Yeah, Wayne.
In all honesty, gentlemen, I wish your Chicago Bears all the luck, because I know what it's like when your team is doing, it's not like the Vikings have killed it in the playoffs, but when your team is involved and it's easy to get into the NFL and have fun with it. So best of luck to your team next week.
Thank you, Wayne. Appreciate it.
I'll be
guys, have a
gear.
great have a great weekend, and we'll talk at you again next week, okay?
Take care.
Later, guys.
You got it. 3 minutes after the hour, let's take a break. We'll come back with a look at your local and national news headlines next.